Written by Mostly Probably Okay. Keep them, never come back. Okay, I know this will sound like a total joke, but I swear I'm dead serious. It's been eating at my gut for years now. Let's get it out there. Back when I was living in my old place, I had just gotten home and was dying to jump in the shower. I was being a bit lazy at first, and just chucked my clothes onto the bathroom floor in a comical heap. But then that internal, "don't be a slob" voice kicked in, infused from my mother. It felt impolite to just leave them there, even though I lived alone, so I stayed back for a second to clean up. I was painstakingly bending down to grab each item individually and toss them into the laundry basket. I saved my underwear for last. I reached down to grab them, but before my hand could even get close, I noticed it. Right there on the bathroom tiles, directly underneath the underwear, this small black circle started to manifest. It wasn't like a shadow or a stain, it was like a hole in the world. I watched it, completely paralyzed, as this thing grew from a tiny dot to a full-size circle over the course of maybe 3 or 4 seconds. Once it was fully formed, we're talking just slightly larger than my admittedly thin and sultry underwear, the whole thing disappeared. The circle vanished, and it took my sexy undies with it. What the hell kind of perverted glitch is this? I honestly didn't even realize I couldn't move until the circle was gone. The second it vanished, the paralysis lifted, but it was retroactive. It's hard to describe being paralyzed, but only realizing you were after the paralysis spell was lifted. I tried to examine the place where this blackness was, but there wasn't anything weird about it now, just a solid white tiled bathroom floor. I've spent so much time trying to convince myself I just hallucinated the whole thing, because if this actually happened, I really don't know where to go with that. At any moment I could be sucked into darkness. It's been years and I've never seen this panty void come back. Hopefully it never does. I'm a generally healthy person, and I wasn't on anything. Plus the clincher is that I never saw that pair of underwear again, which is what makes me think it wasn't a hallucination. It's fine. Keep them. Never come back. You do wonder where all these lost items go, and we know that DOP can involve multiverse crossovers, items going to different universes coming back, but this is the first time that we had a black dot story that involved a disappearing item. So are they related? If an item disappears, does it necessitate this kind of black dot to be there? Is it the visible spectrum of the wormhole connecting the multiverses? That's interesting. Now, I don't think there's any specific thing involved with the panties. I don't think this is a void that is perverted, which is a funny way to frame it though. Or, I mean, I could go down that angle, but what if there's a universe out there where they have managed to master the multiverse transit, we could say, where they're able to open these portals deliberately to different universes, kind of like in Stargate episode where there's a mirror that enables them to transit between universes, and they can almost flip between them like channels on a TV. But it's very hard to find the originating universe because there's so many of them. Pretty neat idea. I don't know if that's actually true. My gut is still that this is just random instability, but who knows? Welcome, I'm Paul. This is Dave. Today I have 11 Glitch in the Matrix and paranormal stories for you. My favorite one involves a road. Let's get to it. Oh, like the video too. I always forget to say that now. Okay, let's get to it. Written by Dazzling Stuff 9776. The Hill had a schedule. My story took place 5 years ago at a regular holiday spot for where my family friends owned a flat that my family used to use. I've been going here for 10 plus years before, and nothing like this has ever happened. This story genuinely creeps me out, even today, and had me questioning my reality for years after. The flat we owned was at the top of a hill. To get into town, me and my mom walked down and, on this day, got fish and chips and were walking back up the hill. The hill had a road down it, and houses lined either side. That's when an elderly lady, around 60 yards in front of us, walked out of her house and stared up the hill. There were also people walking down, so I assumed she was staring at them, but when they passed her, she kept staring up the hill as if in a trance at nobody. When we passed her, she continued staring up the hill, but not at us, not directly, so we kept walking. Then I turned around to see if she was still looking, and she was waving up the hill. This first encounter could easily be passed off as a lady with dementia or some mental illness. However, what happened a few hours later is the real kicker. It was around 8 p.m. and me, my mom, and sister walked to the local coop in town. I asked if we could go a different way as I didn't want to walk past that lady again in case she came out. So we went down a different lane. There was one barn-converted house which had 2 teenage kids playing outside with their parents supervising. As we approached, the mother, who was around 30, started staring down the hill in a trance state as we passed her. I even remember her daughter trying to talk to her, but she was ignored. This alone creeped me out, as it was similar to the elderly lady. However, I looked back at her after we passed, and she was waving. I crap you not, she was waving. She was waving. I don't know at what. There was no view down that hill. Maybe a brick wall and an old house. This creeped me out all the way into town, and made me question if I was in a simulation or something of that nature, as this very specific thing can't logically happen twice in a row like that. But it gets creepier. We walk out of the car park and onto the pavement, when this woman pulls up directly next to us in a car whilst wearing a coat, as if she's going to do shopping. She then half steps out, sees me, looks embarrassed, and gets into her car and drives off. There are so many things with this interaction that make no sense. Why was she in a car? She lives 2 minutes walking distance from the shops. Why didn't she pull into the car park, as that was the only thing open at that time of night? The entire saga creeped me out through my teenage years, and in my opinion, is what started my DPDR, which I have never been able to get rid of. I'm also a chronic worrier, so this has literally driven me mad, as there is no explanation whatsoever. Posting this here to get it off my chest, and hopefully find some peace with it. Written by Dream Spitter. Low Poly, High Panic. I was driving at night, not too late, about 8:30 p.m., in search of a spicy Philly steak shawarma bowl. I'd heard about a restaurant offering such fusion food on socials. The place was about 17 miles away, further north than I'd ever been before, so I rode out looking forward to it. About 3/4 of the way there, something in my driver's side window startled me. It was simply unnameable. It wasn't like anything in the sky. It was like the land itself. It was somehow twisting and distorting. Everything was the same uniform shade of gray, with no lines or distinctions. It was just a low poly mass, a heap of something that kept unnerving me. I kept eyeing it as my mind raced. What is it? Am I having a stroke? I could see the cars in front of me, and they looked completely normal. Suddenly the world simply flattened and popped into an obscene hyper-resolution after about 25 seconds. It was a long, winding traffic median dividing a 4-lane highway. The grass is brilliant green, occasional trees. The curb is stark, burning hot white. The road is a dark cement rather than asphalt, but moments before, everything else was melting into it. Not even lines anywhere. There were no textures or colors on anything but the cars themselves. I was shaken, but managed to arrive safely. After ordering my bowl and a skewer of shrimp, I kept wondering what the frick happened. On the way back, my eyes were peeled, and I was wary. I drove that same stretch of highway on the opposite side. Grass, trees, curb, road. It was all perfectly normal on the return trip. Okay, so there's plenty of stories that take place on roads, space-time portals most prominently. Were you having a stroke? I don't think so. I think if you were, usually a stroke involves a specific segment of your body, one side or the other, losing cohesion, losing function, And there's cases where people lose the ability to understand words. They'll speak a language that's properly structured, but they'll use words that don't belong. Like instead of mouse, like a mouse, a keyboard, they'd say duck and chicken. Everything would be jumbled. It wouldn't be the correct association. Because that's what memory is. It's all synaptic pathways that are connected. And if you jumble them up, it's like an index that is improperly filed. So everything leads to a proper place, but it's the wrong place. Anyways, brain is funky like that. So if you were having a stroke, I don't think you'd be able to continue driving, reach the place, and then double back like nothing happened. You say the cars were fine. The road, as I'm picturing it as you described it, was warped, but you could still follow a concrete vector. So I think that something was messing with your perception. I don't think the road itself, like in the Stranger Thing, right? Everything was, or Stranger Thing in Inception, right? Where everything is warped and distorted and high resolution split up or copied and like mirrored. Very interesting sight to imagine, but I don't think it was your brain that was fritzing out. I think something was influencing it. And maybe even just being in the vicinity of a space-time portal could have this effect. In fact, it's actually an interesting idea, or a question, is that what about all the other drivers in the area? They might have seen the same thing too, but how would anyone ever know? If this happened to you, are you going to try to go on the radio or something and alert people? How many people does something truly weird have to happen to before they all get together and like share their story together in a way that maybe normal people would pay attention to? How could you even spread this message, outside of like Reddit or sharing it with channels like me and others? We can talk about it and that's cool, but how do you get it to the mainstream to accept it or even entertain it? Something like, you can have a UFO that's over an airport and it still wouldn't necessarily sit permanently in the general zeitgeist. Very interesting to think about just how big something incredibly weird has to be before people collectively start to say, okay, well, maybe that really did happen. Written by Realistic Trouble 37. A Detour in Bavaria. I'm writing this while sitting in a train station in Germany. A stunning country, I have to say, but it's also made me lose my mind. I have to knock out points for that. I bought this backpack back in December, and I've used it basically every day since. It's just a bag, so I know it well. The main pocket has, or had, this very specific light gray padded laptop pouch built into the back. I'm 100% certain of this because I actually bought a separate flat backpack divider specifically to slide into that pouch so I could organize my toiletries better. I like to be neat. I've reached into that pocket countless times. I know exactly what the padding feels like, that slightly textured gray fabric, and exactly how the divider fits snugly inside it. 100 trillion%. So this morning, I'm in my hotel packing up to head to the next city. I grab my divider, open the largest pocket to slide it in to its usual spot, and the trillion certainty pouchy is freaking gone? For a second, I just stood there like a flummoxed idiot. There is no laptop compartment anymore. It's just one big empty space. But this thing is supposed to be sewn into the lining. It's not like it's a removable sleeve that could have fallen out. It was part of the actual structure of the backpack, woven into its very threaded essence. The weirdest thing is that I wasn't even scared at first. Dumbstruck, absolutely. But the full implication had not hit me yet. I was just annoyed. Like, great, where am I supposed to put my stuff now? I just kind of accepted that the pocket didn't exist anymore and moved on with my morning for a few steps. The more seconds passed, the more I started to realize this is just not possible. Flat the frick out. Loaded up Amazon where I'd bought it from to check its description. But that's when I remembered I actually had a video on my phone from a few months ago where I was showing the bag to someone right after I got it. I scrolled back, found the clip, and watched myself opening the main pocket. The compartment wasn't there in the video either. What the frick? I have the clearest, most tactile memories of using a part of a bag that apparently never existed. Yet the manufacturer says it should be there too. I've been using that divider for months. Where the hell was I putting it this whole time? I think this story is so fascinating just because of the juxtaposition. You have your memory and the video saying this wasn't the case, the pocket never existed, and then Amazon saying it does. So it's not even like quantum immortality, because you start in the universe where things are the way you remember, and then you jump to a different universe where they're different. If that was the case, the Amazon page would say, no, this isn't how it was. There was never a divider segment for the laptop. The video is proper in that context, because the phone, you wouldn't carry your physical phone with you in quantum immortality. So there's a divide there that doesn't make any sense. I don't know what to square it. Unless, I don't know. That's just so trippy. You have elements of different glitches that we would explain how they interact and the signs they point to. But in this case, it's all twisted. It doesn't make sense. Written by Dense Meeting 7156. Mom didn't take it. Last night, I was watching YouTube on my living room TV on the couch. My mom was on the other side of the couch sleeping because she had fallen asleep working on her computer. She's the type to fall asleep on the couch and get up to go to bed in the middle of the night. I had my phone with me, and I know I did because I was looking up videos on the phone to cast to the TV. After I finished watching the video, I turned the TV off and head to bed with my phone, or at least I thought. I vividly remember plugging my phone up to the charger when I got in bed and scrolling for a while before I finally fell asleep. I woke up at like 2 a.m. and I looked around for my phone. I didn't feel it. I turned the lights on to look and didn't see it anywhere. I get irritated and just go back to bed and tell myself I'll look again in the morning, thinking it fell between my bed or something. Morning comes and I'm looking again. Don't see it. I grab the house phone to call it so I can hear it ring or buzz. Nothing. I knock on my mom's bedroom door and I tell her I've been looking for my phone all night and I can't find it. She has me on the Find My iPhone app. So I ask her to ding my phone on the app. She dings it and it's next to her, in her bed, under the cover. She was shocked and so was I. She was saying how maybe she was really tired last night and took my phone to her bed by accident. But I was on a whole different part of the couch than her, laying under a blanket. Why would she take her phone and mine to bed with her? Also, I really thought I was on my phone last night in bed. I started thinking, did I sleepwalk to her room with my phone or some crap? But I'm not a sleepwalker. I looked it up on here and I see similar stories of people saying they don't remember moving their phones somewhere else and things teleporting. Me and my mom got chills when we heard the phone ring next to her. This has never happened before. Am I crazy? Did it teleport? Did I leave my phone on the couch, causing my mom to take my phone to bed with her and just not remember? I'm 20, by the way, and I usually don't have any memory loss issues or things of that sort either. Written by Hannah5553. Glitch, lather, repeat. Hi. So, about a month ago, I bought a special moisturizer. I needed it, but it was so expensive, so it took a while before I had enough money to get it. I've been using it in the bathroom after a shower, or sometimes my bedroom, so I'd bring it back and forth. Yesterday, I decided to sort through all my bathroom cupboards and shelves to organize my stuff, so I knew exactly where I'd placed the moisturizer, and I hadn't used it since, so I knew it was there. Then today, I decided to organize my makeup and skincare stuff, and I opened the box to find the exact same moisturizer sitting on the top of the box with my makeup. I stared at it in confusion for a moment before picking it up to confirm it was the exact same moisturizer, and then I was racking my brain trying to decide if I had just imagined placing the moisturizer in its spot in the bathroom or if I had somehow brought it to my room to use it and for some reason blocked out the memory. I ran to the bathroom with it in hand, and sure enough, there was another bottle sitting in the spot I had placed it the day before. I have no idea how this is possible. I know for a fact I didn't buy two, because I only had been able to save up enough to purchase one as soon as I found out about it. So it wasn't possible that I could have mistakenly purchased it twice. I can't explain it, and it's the biggest glitch in the Matrix I've ever experienced. Oh, and I've just searched through my email to find the receipt of my order, and there's only one order, so I only bought one when I ordered it. There's no other emails of orders of this moisturizer, and I know for a fact anyways that I would not have been able to afford to get a second one accidentally. I don't leave the house to shop, as I have severe agoraphobia, so anything I have purchased would have been online, so there would be an email to confirm the purchase. Written by Mr. Susu. Mirror, mirror down the street. So I was on vacation in the Caribbean recently, and I had an encounter that I still can't shake. You know how people always say, "Oh man, I saw someone who looks just like you." And then they show you a picture or point them out, and it looks absolutely nothing like you. It's usually just a guy with the same hair color or something, but the face is all off. Well, this wasn't that. I was just walking down the street with my friend, soaking in delicious sun rays, when I saw this guy coming from the opposite direction. My heart actually skipped a beat or two. This guy was a mirror image. The same hair, the same beard, the same height and build, even the same facial structure, most importantly. It was like looking at a reflection that had wandered out into the real world. Now featuring The Wandering Mirror of Mr. Susu. Buy your tickets today. And it wasn't only me who could see my twin. My friend with me saw him too and abruptly halted. I think in his mind, in that split-second deviation from mindless walking and seeing me over there, he thought, "How'd you do that?" As if I had teleported. Instantly twisted into a much deeper mystery as he realized the real me was still right next to him, walking in tandem stride. As we walked past my clone, there was this heavily weird energy in the air. We didn't say anything as we crossed paths, but we both kept walking for maybe 10 feet. Then, as if we were choreographed, we both stopped at the exact same time and turned around. We were about 20 feet apart, staring at each other for a long few seconds. Neither of us said a word. It was a silent acknowledgement of how impossible it looked. Then we both just turned back around and kept walking. Before I could even find the words to ask if I was tripping, my friend said it for me. "Dude, that guy looked exactly like you." I honestly wonder if he's out there somewhere telling the same story about the time he saw his clone in the Caribbean. Written by Fast Question 4794. The outfit sealed it. This happened to my friend about 2 years ago when a whole group of us went on holiday to Greece. It's one of those things you hear about on the internet all the time, but never actually expect to see in person. None of us were scared by this, maybe because of internet priming, but it's still cool. We were all just chilling on the beach one afternoon, not to swim, just to take in the salt and people, and my friend headed off to use the toilets. A few minutes later, another girl in our group spots her walking a little further down the sand. She starts calling her name, waving and yelling to get her attention, but this person just keeps walking like she doesn't hear a damn thing. My friend was so puzzled, honestly, kind of offended for a second, as if it was intentionally rude avoidance, wondering why she was being blatantly ignored. I'm telling you, this woman was the absolute spitting image of my friend, as you always hear in doppelganger stories. I mean, that is the point. But it's not just a copied face and body. She was wearing the same outfit. A white crop top, short jean skirt, and sandals. It was uncanny. When the actual friend got back from the toilets, we told her the whole story. She just laughed it off, thinking we were exaggerating or that the Mediterranean sun was finally getting to us, not believing a word, clearly. So we thought no more of it for the rest of the trip. Fast forward to our very last day. We were coming out of a little shop after grabbing some last-minute souvenirs, and this doppelganger woman walked in at the exact same time. Maybe that's the strangest part. What are the odds, even if she's not a supernatural entity of evil, running into her twice? No way. What followed after was, like I said, not scary. My friend and the anomaly saw each other, stopped moving, and probably stopped breathing for a few seconds. Then both burst out giggling into full-on laughter. They talked a bit after, mostly casual. Still, you'd expect more from something like this, right? If you meet your twin, isn't that supposed to mean good fortune? When I meet mine, I'll ask her everything. Her birthday, when she was born, what her superpower is. Well, to the question I want to answer, if I met my doppelganger and it didn't get the, weird vibe, like they're supernatural evil, like you say. And that is a funny point, because often people in doppelganger stories, they say that they feel unnerved. And I don't know if it's because they know they don't belong here, they're maybe from a different universe or something, or they're a skinwalker or whatever, or it's just because seeing yourself is, unnerving. Maybe it really is just a twin. And indeed, for me, the elements of this story that are most mystical, you could even say, is just the first time they were wearing the same exact outfit. I don't know in the second time if they were, but even just once, having someone that looks like you is already extraordinarily rare. Having them wear the exact same thing on the same day, completely unplanned, uncoordinated, that's just remarkably, I guess you could say, well, if they look the same clothes would look good on them, so they might choose to buy the same outfit, but to then choose to wear it on the same day it's just stacking odds, rare odds time rare odds. It's pretty extraordinary, even if it's just a normal human being, nothing weird on that end. I think it's great. And yeah, but to the answer, what would I ask my doppelganger if I saw them and I wasn't weirded out? I don't know. I guess, what do you do? What if there's two of me? My doppelganger is also narrating stories, but I just haven't seen his YouTube channel. Is he out there? So weird. Written by ThenOwl9. Green juice in the Matrix. Last night, I had some green juice for dinner. There was some leftover juice sitting in the glass when I finished it. The glass was sitting on my coffee table. I left it there overnight. I used to live off-grid without a fridge, and often leave things that won't go bad sitting out overnight to eat the next day, and it's fine. At one point though, before bed, I looked up at the table and realized I had 2 glasses with similar amounts of green juice left in them, both sitting on that table. Sometimes I'll get a fresh glass and forget that I hadn't finished the previous one. This morning, I was putting some dishes in a dishwasher and thought that I would consolidate the 2 glasses of green juice into one and put the empty glass in the dishwasher. But when I walked over to the coffee table, there was only 1 green juice glass. I didn't have a second green juice glass anywhere else. I hadn't dumped the second glass out and washed it. I never finished it. I then realized that I shouldn't have had the 2 glasses of green juice in the first place, because I hadn't had green juice with earlier meals. There should only have ever been 1 glass. So the glitch happened last night and then corrected itself this morning? As ever, maybe the most significant thing about this is that I feel something trying to get me to forget it. It's like something is pressuring my brain to question whether or not this even happened. I've noticed the same phenomenon when I've been aware of other glitches, although notably, this urge seems less strong than it has in the past. I also want to note that another glitch I noticed involved a dishwasher. I've had this theory that something about circulating water plus electricity makes glitches more likely. I think this may be why we always lose socks, that they're not disappearing in the dryer, they're disappearing in the washer. Written by James Drayton. Not a deer, not a deer. In early 2018, I bought a cottage in the rural Irish Midlands. A few weeks after moving, the country was suddenly hit by a very heavy snowstorm, which had closed off all the country roads leading in and out of the village. The village we lived in just happened to be directly next to the Bog of Allen, the largest area of raised bogland in the country. With no school for a couple of weeks due to the snowstorm, and still being new to the area, I took the chance to go exploring this bogland with my dog. After reaching the bog through the heavy snow, my dog and I followed along a trail path which led us to an artificial forest. Continuing along this trail through the forest, I then came upon a line of hoofprints in the snow. The prints clearly belonged to a deer, and judging by the size, were almost likely a yearling. But what was strange about the hoofprints was that they seemed to start directly in the middle of the trail, where further along it they then stopped. The hoofprints didn't start from within the forest, came onto the trail, and then went back into the trees. It was as though the deer that made them appeared on the trail out of thin air and then just vanished. Following these hoofprints to where they ended on the trail, there was no indication in the snow of the deer leaping into the trees, which could have explained why the prints ended so abruptly. Every print in the snow was more or less identical to each other. There were no lines, marks, or anything to imply the deer leaped. I even went into the trees to see if I could find more deer prints, so to rationalize a leap theory, but by my best efforts I couldn't. I can also rule out the theory of snowdrifts partially covering up the prints, as I don't remember seeing any while on the trail. One theory I did have at the time, however, was that the continual snowfall had covered up parts of the deer prints, but there was no indication of that either. The prints clearly started and ended on the trail. 8 years later, and I still don't know what to make of these deer prints. I've heard of not a deer stories before, and even deer stories related to skinwalkers, but is there such a thing as phantom deer prints? I have no idea. Written by Shoulder Brilliant, 78-6. A key that fit, but didn't belong. This one happened to me about a month ago, and has been bothering me since, which led me here to read about other similar situations. It's not quite as dramatic as some of the stories, so hopefully it isn't boring. Anyway, I was holding my house key in my hand after getting home. I had just unlocked the door and started walking into the main room. I hadn't stopped anywhere or put anything down yet. The key was on a keychain that had a tag on it from our local public library, and I remember holding it in my hand. But when I went to put it down by my computer desk, the key and keychain were gone. The distance between the door where I came in and the desk is only about 15 feet, so it couldn't have gone far. I was near the middle of the room, which is pretty open and has hardwood floors. If it had dropped, it almost certainly would have made a sound, but I assumed I must have dropped it and just, by some freak coincidence, landed in such a way that it didn't make a sound. There was nothing around me. I searched the floor everywhere just in case I accidentally kicked it. I took off my clothes and shook them out, and nothing. There are also no floor vents, bottom floor apartment. I figured it couldn't have gone far and would eventually turn up. About an hour later, I decided to look again. I don't know why, but I felt compelled to look on the windowsill close by, and there was a key sitting right there on the windowsill. It was a clearly different key, as it had no keychain attached, and it was a different brand. Was a little heavier and slightly different color. My original key was shiny metallic, this one was dull. I tried it out on the door, and sure enough it worked. The weird thing is that we use that windowsill for stuff all the time. We have photos on it, my kids put her artwork there. At Christmas, we put decorations there, and neither me nor my wife ever remember seeing a key there before. We have been here for 6 years, and never once did we ever notice a key just sitting there in an obvious plain sight, nor did we ever think we had more than 2 keys, one for her and one for me. I just think it's bizarre that within a couple of hours of inexplicably losing one key, a different one just turns up close by where the other one was lost? Weird. Now time for the jokes of the day. I said to my son, I need a battery so I can tell the time. He asked, is it for a clock? And I answered, I don't know. That's why I need the battery. Yeah, this one takes a second. I love jokes where it takes a little minute to click. When I was a kid, bedtime was 9:30 p.m. I couldn't wait to be a grown-up, so I could go to bed anytime I wanted. Turns out that it is 9:30 p.m. I don't have this problem. I just sleep an hour later every single day. It's weird, but I like it. My wife said I could be an idiot sometimes. I think it's pretty cool of her to give me permission ahead of time. Preemptive. What do you call an obese psychic? A 4-chin teller. My wife says I'm getting fat, but in my defense, I've had a lot on my plate lately. That would do it. Well, maybe not if it's a lot of vegetables, yeah. Okay. Video up here, YouTube thinks you'll like it, check it out. See you next time.